Hello everybody, welcome on Serie Juan podcast Ivoox.com. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on this audio and the history and the first program in English idiom. And now this interview of the speak on the guest Jon Kelly from the channel Secret Message TV from Canada, Vancouver. The team from the speak on this interview from the Robert Pickton of the serial killer on the serial murders more than prostitutes on the kill 39 victims. This is ciphers supposed on the subject. And now on this program on the speak from theories on the conspiracy on the Club Vancouver and others. Now on the guest translator, special guest translator Maurice Weber from Germany on the help from English to Spanish. This is the first story appearance of this program from English go to Spanish on the program on English on Spanish, two idioms on the interview. Now thank you very much people, and the like on the so much on the working on the listeners, greetings from Serie Juan on Spain, Europe. And now from this introduction go to Spanish. Hola a todos y bienvenidos y muy buenas a Serie Juan. En este nuevo programa vamos a hablar de un tema muy interesante. Estaba haciendo la introducción en inglés, pero ahora vamos a hacer en español. Lo hacemos en dos idiomas por primera vez en la historia del programa. Un hecho importante que, dicho lo dicho, mi inglés no es que sea bueno, es medio inglés, para que lo sepan. Y hemos contado también con un traductor, se llama Maurice Weber, desde Alemania. Y como invitado hemos traído a Jon Kelly, de Vancouver, Canadá, del canal Secret Message, el mensaje secreto televisión, para que nos hablase del tema del asesino en serie Robert Pickton, que mató aproximadamente, se calcula, 50 víctimas. El tema es que aquí se hablaron de teorías de la conspiración. Dicho lo dicho, son teorías, aunque casi lo está confirmado debido a que hubo una investigación de Jon Kelly y también Alfred Weber y descubrieron que hay algo detrás de lo más oculto y de lo más siniestro en la historia de Robert Pickton. Sobre todo el hermano de Pickton traficaba con snuff movies y que pertenecía a los ángeles del infierno. Bueno, agradecer ante todo que cada vez el trabajo de Serie Juan va siendo conocido. Buscamos que la gente oiga la verdad. También, aquellos escépticos que también comenten, porque es lo suyo. Y nada, pues agradecer ante todo a todo el público, al sector personal que están con nosotros apoyándonos el día a día. Y nada, pues los medios de contacto, ya lo sabéis, de sijuanivos@gmail.com. Y los medios que ya están ahí en el evento, pues buscar a Jon Kelly por Facebook, a Maurice Weber también. Y nada, en general, pues agradecer a todos que cada vez vayan escuchando un trabajo, porque nuestro objetivo en Serie Juan es divulgar la verdad y desmentir esas verdades oficiales que son una cortina de humo nada más. Pues nada amigos, espero que disfruten del programa, hecho histórico, primer programa en inglés con un traductor de inglés a español, para que los oyentes no se pierdan ningún dato de lo que hemos hablado. Y nada, pues un fuerte abrazo y espero que esta entrevista pues les guste y que puedan opinar, tanto escépticos como oficialistas, como no oficialistas, en general todo el mundo. Un abrazo muy grande y nos seguimos viendo en Serie Juan, vuestro canal de conspiraciones, misterios sin resolver y crímenes sin resolver en Ivoox.com. Un abrazo muy grande. Hola a todos y bienvenidos y muy buenas noches. Hello, good evening, welcome from this program bienvenidos, welcome for this program. And this program speak from Jon Kelly from Vancouver, Canada. Good evening, John. Welcome from this program. Ceci, Juan, how are you?
Great, Juan. It's a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you for having me on your show.
Okay, and now welcome from Maurice Weber from help, from translator, make translator from English to Spanish. Hola Maurice, hello Maurice, ¿cómo estás?
Hola, saludos a las personas, pues yo voy a tratar de traducir lo mejor que pueda. Hello everybody, I will try to translate the better I can.
Okay, perfect. And the first question from the interview, John, for those who do only know the story of Robert Pickton, what can you tell us about it? Is understand from the question?
Well, Robert Pickton was arrested in Vancouver and charged with serial murders, a notorious series of crimes that plagued the Vancouver, British Columbia region. And Robert Pickton was identified as the principal suspect and was tried over a lengthy period of time that involved a significant amount of social protest due to the volume of deaths attributed to his crimes. The Greater Vancouver Lower Mainland region is subject to a lot of missing women's cases, particularly cases where the vulnerable First Nations or Native Canadians have been targeted. And so that community has been very active around attempting to find out what's happened to the daughters, mothers, and sisters in those communities. Many, due to their economic vulnerability, have been involved in prostitution. And it was from this street prostitute community that Robert Pickton and apparently his numerous accomplices were selecting their victims. And so, again, this was a crime that received international attention. It happened in the Vancouver, British Columbia area. It was attributed as serial murder, although people claim there's significant testimony that Pickton was only the fall guy, so to speak, for crimes that involved personalities throughout all strata of society, including local political officials.
Maurice, ¿qué ha dicho exactamente? ¿Qué has podido entender?
Está un poco complicado porque es bastante largo. Bueno, él dice que este señor Robert Pickton estuvo involucrado en el asesinato de 49 prostitutas y también estuvo involucrado con gente del gobierno, que también parece que han mandado a matar. Sería un poquito que vuelva a hacer como una pregunta en, ¿cómo te puedo explicar? Que vuelva otra vez a hacer énfasis en esto. Es que está muy largo, es complicadísimo.
John, the question, Robert Pickton is linked to the government, works from government, is the tell from Robert King from these prostitutes. Is the truth, this question?
Well, there are claims. I have not personally examined the forensic evidence, but there appears to be substantial testimony in which witnesses have identified that a variety of governmental officials, including local elected officials in the Vancouver Lower Mainland, as well as federal police officers, were party to or witnesses to crimes and party to a cover-up or party to the proliferation of those crimes. And so this is the aura that surrounds the charges against Pickton. Pickton, in one of his jailhouse interviews published to the Canadian National Post newspaper's YouTube channel that was released, there were numerous jailhouse videotapes of Robert Pickton interacting with undercover police officers. And in one of those tapes, he claims that he had 15 accomplices. That is his spoken testimony in an undercover police sting in the jailhouse. He says there's 15 other people who would go down with him if he were charged. So Pickton himself says there's a conspiracy involving more than just one person, more than just himself in these killings.
Maurice, ¿qué ha podido...?
Bueno, él está diciendo que aparentemente hubo gente también vinculada a todos estos asesinatos, gente incluso de la policía, y aparentemente, ¿no? Que él no tiene pruebas contundentes exactas, porque estos medios oficiales son esquivativos Entonces se piensa que hay un encubrimiento incluso de gente del gobierno también relacionada a este caso.
John, in your channel, The Secret Message, you speak from the time from Robert Pickton, and you investigation from the forensic analysis is the cell video is the words, the very suspect from Robert Pickton, and the words this is from this my ritual is the theory, the possible you tell in the program with Alfred Weber Lambermont is the Robert Pickton is possible person or the mind control subject. What is your opinion from the cell video in the words from Robert Pickton in the speech from this policeman is the interrogation from Robert Pickton in the cell video, please?
Well, there are ritualistic overtones in the unconscious encrypted communications that I resolved from my study of these jailhouse tapes, and there were several iterations or several releases of tapes that happened over a period of years. I published a story in my column titled "Judge Says Secret Messages Reveal Robert Pickton's MK Ultra Connection," and so if my conversation with War Crimes Tribunal Judge Alfred Lambermont Weber, we discussed Canada's historic relationship with the CIA MK Ultra mind control program, which was the foundation and the backbone of the Kubarek torture manual published by the CIA and used throughout the 1960s, and is understood to be the foundational text in the present day programs of torture that are being operated in places like Guantanamo Bay, Abu Ghraib, and other notorious black operation sites that have been cited in the news over the last 10 or 15 years. So Canada's involvement with MK Ultra was the foundation stone in contemporary torture, as it's known throughout the press, the notorious practices at places like Guantanamo Bay. Now, MK Ultra torture research is a known fact of history. The university, McGill University, which is a prestigious educational institution in Montreal, Canada, on their own website cites their history of participation in MK Ultra torture research. This is a widely known fact. This is not conjecture that these programs existed, but rather it is an established fact. And there are apparently ongoing lawsuits against the federal government of Canada by the surviving victims of those programs, who were subjected to criminal medical experiments, illegal medical experiments without consent. Those people are suing the government. So we understand that MK Ultra torture is not conjecture, it is not fantasy, it is in fact, it is established fact. And so with this known framework in mind, when we begin to measure and evaluate what I describe as the unconscious communications of suspects such as Robert Pickton, their jailhouse testimony, and identify ritualistic overtones in their statements. These are strange overtones. And they are very compelling, particularly when we analyze Robert Pickton with other known or prominent killers in contemporary history, because there are shared themes between the accused serial killers as well as the known intelligence operatives, international operatives. All of them communicate with these ritualistic overtones that invoke occult themes and gothic horror-like names from devils or monsters in literary traditions. We know for another established fact is that the secret societies of the elite educational institutions in the United States, including Yale University, which hosts the Skull and Bones fraternity, of which former President George W. Bush and present-day U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry are both fraternity members. We know that the society members utilize code names based on these gothic horror themes, in which they refer to each other by names such as devils, as Beelzebub, Lucifer, etc. And so when we find an infusion of such thematic material in what I have resolved as the unconscious jailhouse communications of individuals such as Robert Pickton, we see that there is a parallelism between such themes and their use in what we understand to be the elite who go on to head and supervise operations in the intelligence industry, who become prominent figures in the CIA, for example, which heads up torture research at MKUltra torture research at McGill. We understand that the seeding of these ideas, this psychological bent, so to speak, of ritualism, and other kinds of occult overtones trickles down, and we see that there appears to be a form of indoctrination shared by individuals such as Robert Pickton, Dennis Rader, Jim Jones, as well as known operatives, Russian spies who were caught in the U.S., and other individuals. We see these themes trickling down through our societies, an occult subculture which seems to focus on human sacrifice, ritual murder, and appears to be some sort of a death cult type of bent, which is not inappropriate for a society that would call themselves Skull and Bones.
Bueno, Maurice, ¿tú qué nos puedes decir? ¿Qué has podido entender? Es que dice cosas muy interesantes sobre los...
Yo entiendo todo, como te digo, lo que pasa es que es bastantísima información y decirla rápidamente es prácticamente complicado, pero bueno, voy a resumir. Dice que se cree, según investigaciones que ha hecho, que este señor Robert Pickton ha sido producto de MKUltra y bueno, pues se sabe que el gobierno de Canadá ha estado sumergido en aplicar estas prácticas de estos controles mentales a gente, aparte de este señor que asesinó a estas personas, a muchas otras personas, y estas personas se han unido y han demandado al gobierno de Canadá. Se sabe también, según investigaciones, que hay sociedades secretas, entre ellas estas de Skull and Bones, que es miembro Jon Kelly y otros como George Bush y otros prominentes políticos, que está relacionado con este tipo de prácticas inhumanas y ritualísticas satánicas, se podría decir.
Bueno, y antes de preguntar, porque esto se está haciendo del inglés al español, de English to Spanish, the officials reports and tell his career or serial killer from Robert Pickton, suppose, it begins in 1995 until 2001, and these killings for so many years is very strange for Canada. John, what is your opinion from the Robert Pickton is that 1995 until 2001 is the assassination murders from prostitution people, the girls. Is not normal. My suspect is the police Canadian is undercover from members from the power factories. I little speak English. Now I understand you tell, John. And those Robert Pickton is program for main countries. Very, very important, this information. In the question is police to Canada is protection from Robert Pickton, from all monies, Islam movies and others?
Well, as I understand your question, it was a subject of intense controversy that the police were either apparently derelict in their duty in not capturing the killer earlier, or stopping the crimes, or they were actually culpable in party to the crimes. This was a subject of intense controversy, and there were numerous public hearings over the investigative committee that examined the behavior of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police throughout the proceedings. There were many verbal protests about how could it be possible that the police could fail year after year to put an end to this problem. It was considered a sign of intense corruption and it was it diminished the respect in the community for police who appeared through the persistence of these crimes. They appeared entirely incompetent. Now, to be fair, at the same time, there are other cases of ongoing crimes and missing persons. British Columbia has had other killers and who have numerous victims, and there are numerous unknown victims and unsolved crimes. So such things exist. We shouldn't unfairly expect the police to solve everything in 5 minutes. But at the same time, in retrospect, it is a fact that the public, particularly the representatives of the Native Canadian or First Nations community, were vocally protesting the conduct of the police as incompetent, delinquent, or culpable in the persistence of these crimes over that many years.
Maurice, ¿qué puedes aportarnos? ¿Qué hay?
Según investigaciones, hay muchas personas que piensan que la policía estuvo encubriendo los crímenes porque hubieron tantas denuncias y no se ha resuelto, y siempre ponían esto ante las autoridades año tras año, y prácticamente no se resolvía el problema de estos asesinatos. Ahora se sabe que han habido otras personas y otros asesinos en serie que no se ha podido resolver. No es el único caso aislado, hay varios en Canadá, y la gente está cansada. Ya ha habido muchas protestas con la Royal Police policía de Canadá sobre estos acontecimientos. Básicamente es el resumen.
Bueno, ahora, now, the question is very important. From origin, from family Pickton, came from a farmer's son. And what is important is this note had which the mother died, and his father left a legacy to his children. And Pickton sold a part of this farm for a lot of money. John, and in the millionaire fortune, the $2 million from the sale, o vender, Maurice, ¿cómo se dice vender en? Sell, is the fortune is $2 million from the ranch. What is your opinion? Is understand from the question, or?
This has not been a subject of my research. In other words, the financial affairs of Robert Pickton and his family have not been a topic of my study. My studies were actually quite strictly limited to analyses of evidence that were produced in public, which in the form of video and audio tapes. So my studies concentrated there. I don't have more information to share about the financial affairs of Robert Pickton. I have not studied that.
¿Qué puedes decirnos?
Dice que él se ha basado en las investigaciones sobre videos y sobre medios oficiales, pero realmente él no ha tenido acceso y no se ha concentrado en las investigaciones de quién o quiénes lo financian o lo han financiado a este señor, ¿no?
No, es porque, Maurice, en los documentales hablaba de que esta familia vendió su rancho por $2 millones de dólares, y entonces ahí se montó un centro de fiesta. John, the brother of Robert Pickton, called Dave Pickton, as comment had his members of the Hells Angels, and he edits snuff movies. Traductor from snuff movies is the Terry. The snuff movies is the one Terry from this days. Do you have information about this, John?
I am aware of the proximity of Hells Angels gang activities to these crimes, and it was Alfred Weber during my interview with him who shared with me my first understanding that the Hells Angels were involved in parties that were hosted on the Pickton family property, where the rendering plant existed, where the killings were taking place and the crimes were being covered up, and that local political officials, elected officials, were being invited to these parties due to corrupt involvement with the Hells Angels, and were being photographed at the scenes of the crime when some of these killings were taking place. And so there is an aura of Hells Angels involvement in these crimes, and Alfred Weber shared that with me during my interview. It has been published elsewhere. The Hells Angels have a prominent foothold in British Columbia. They are a well-known community who have whitewashed and laundered significant amount of funds into formal or establishment-type businesses and holdings, real estate, etc. But it is understood that the origins of those funds are the proceeds of crime. And quite frankly, I think that it could be said quite reasonably that in an era when people are ostensibly intensely concerned about terroristic crimes, that communities such as the Hells Angels have not simply been rounded up on suspicion and incarcerated in their entirety. They are free to operate in British Columbia. So we have this gang culture, motorcycle gang culture, is well established. The Vancouver Hells Angels are considered the most successful chapter in North America. The most financially successful part of the entire Hells Angels organization is right here in Vancouver. So how could such known parties who have such an aura of crime surrounding their activities be allowed to wander freely on the streets? It seems ridiculous in an era when the rest of society is being frisked at airports and when they want to get on the bus, and everyone is being surveilled intensely under suspicion that everyone is a potential terrorist. Well, the Hells Angels would seem to be a first point of call for anyone concerned with those kinds of things, and yet they operate freely. So they're well known for their involvement in drug trafficking, in their activities at the ports. Vancouver is a port city. There's significant trade in heroin, cocaine, and other kinds of hard, addictive, and corruptive substances. So you add that into the mix. You think about people using cocaine and getting caught up in drug smuggling, black monies, and so on. Add politics, add intelligence and military operatives, which is where the Hells Angels originated from, the military. Then you can see how that mix could foment into a situation where Hells Angels would be at a party at Robert Pickton's killing farm, where politicians are also present and people are being killed. You could see how that could add up.
Maurice, ¿qué nos puedes resumir lo que puedas, por favor?
Según investigaciones, se sabe que esta ganga llamada Hells Angels de Canadá estuvo en las fiestas de Robert Pickton, en la mansión o en la granja esta donde se hacían los asesinatos. Y se sabe que también estaban políticos allí metidos también en esto. Lo más raro del caso dice que se sabe muy bien que estos Hells Angels pues son traficantes de droga, de heroína, de cocaína, y están metidos en diversas cosas y actos delincuentes y criminales. Y pues es demasiado extraño de que no hagan absolutamente nada. Y ahora con a la gente normal como tú, como yo, cualquiera lo controla en los aeropuertos o en cualquier sitio, y tienen los medios realmente para espiar y saber realmente quién está metido en encubrimientos. Tú sabes, están todas las tecnologías, y esta gente queda aún así libre, y se sabe por investigaciones que esta ganga criminal pues ha estado en esta fiesta donde hacían todos estos rituales y todos estos sacrificios y todos estos asesinatos.
John, in other case from the Canada, from Bernardo in Calahomolca, Paul Bernardo in Calahomolca, in other case important in Canada is the Einwave, one article from this case. The person comment is Paul Bernardo is member from Lodge Masonics, and this person and the report from the message is tell the Sir Bernardo is go to exit from this society, Lodge Masonic. Is the polemic all the case from the theme is from Snap movies. The Snap movies is the polemic theme in all sides of the world. And John, what's your opinion? Why the case from Paul Bernardo Calahomolca? Maybe?
I am familiar with that case, And I have taken a look at whatever materials were made available publicly, although I was not able to produce any meaningful results in my study. I am aware of that case. And I think that what we are talking about is an undercurrent of corruption and its relationship with secrecy when we are citing what are understood to be secret societies such as Masonic lodges. You know, President Kennedy, in one of his famous speeches, talked about the abhorrence of secrecy, and that secrecy was the enemy of freedom. He spoke prolifically on this point. Of course, he himself was assassinated, but a famous figure in U.S. politics from the 20th century was outspoken on the dangers of secrecy and secret societies. And so if we are hearing news today and continuous news about secret societies and their involvement in ritual murders, disgusting, immoral, depraved crimes, such as the crimes that the Bernardos were party to, should we be surprised? Is it simply a symptom of the corruption in our society?
Maurice, ¿qué se puede resumir de ello?
Que sí estudió el caso y que bueno, pues que siempre están las sociedades secretas atrás de estas cosas, que casualmente también pues el presidente de Estados Unidos, Kennedy, pues había en reiteradas ocasiones denunciado el peligro de las sociedades secretas y lo que esto implica hacia la humanidad, no solamente hacia Estados Unidos, y que hasta el día de hoy existen estos grupos operando, tanto grupos masónicos como otras sectas encubiertas y secretas que hacen de las suyas hasta el día de hoy.
Another question from the team, from Robert Pickton and others. Robert Pickton is unknown how many of his victims were of native origin. What can you tell me about this, John?
Well, my understanding is simply that the native Canadians are a vulnerable population due to Canada's being a manifestation of the British Empire, a colonial manifestation. One of the principles behind colonialism is to seek and secure access to raw materials. The colonial vision does not have a lot of room for including preservation of culture of existing peoples. And so Canada is engaged in mass commercial exploitation of resources, tar sands, mineral rights, fishing, lumber, any kind of raw goods. We are selling as much of our raw materials as fast as possible with limited due consideration for existing peoples and their rights. And so the shock and post-traumatic stress of generations of First Nations people is those repercussions due to colonial activities over the past several hundred years are still being felt. There were mass widespread attempts at genocide of native populations through biological warfare agents being introduced into their communities deliberately, through religious communities that attempted to create new converts out of the native population. They were the church leaders are implicated in these mass genocides, as they were the outreach. They were principal to the outreach to these communities when those contacts were first taking place. So commercial exploitation, cultural exploitation, religious exploitation, the First Nations people through multiple generations have been subject to tremendous pressure. Now, there have been different types of remedies that have been proposed and developed over the years. For example, Canada has ceded some of its land territory to First Nations communities in northern Canada. For example, there are ongoing reconciliation attempts that exist, so we must not overlook those. But the fact is that alcoholism and other forms of substance abuse are widespread. Poverty is widespread, and the social manifestations of that sort of cultural disownership is manifest through First Nations women participation in street prostitution. Vancouver, the downtown east side, is the poorest postal code in the entire country of Canada. So we have a concentration of high poverty on a national scale in the city of Vancouver, and this is a red light district where the homeless population congregates and in fact are contained through deliberate policy efforts on the part of the police in the city of Vancouver. There's a containment policy that keeps high incidence of intravenous drug use, high incidence of prostitution, and other types of conditions in this area. The downtown east side of Vancouver is a internationally known location for ghetto-like conditions. And these ghettos, again, these states of impoverishment are outcomes of our industrialized and post-industrial societies. My understanding is we didn't always have this abysmal poverty in Western society, but it is in fact a manufactured condition that creates an exploitable population who can be utilized in various criminal activities without seeming due regard for law and human rights. And so these vulnerable populations are therefore subject to exploitation in the form of child abuse, child sexual abuse, pedophilia. There are charges throughout Canada concerning abuse of Native children, First Nations children in residential schools established by church communities. There are widespread accusations that go up to the British royal family and to the Vatican in Italy as culpables, legally culpable for these activities. This creation of communities for mass exploitation is a problem in our society. It's an outcome of our industrialized and post-industrial culture. It's one of the dark sides of living in Western society in this present time.
Maurice, hablando de pedofilia, tráfico de abuso.
Sí, yo voy a hacer un resumen, que es bastante información. Dice que lamentablemente las comunidades indígenas, esto habló al principio, han sido víctimas de este colonialismo. Entonces estos gobiernos con este poder económico han explotado y siguen explotando los minerales, los diferentes recursos, y a la gente indígena pues la han dejado de lado. Por eso pues que lamentablemente en Vancouver se ha concentrado cualquier cantidad de gente y se ha hecho un distrito rojo de pura delincuencia y de puro crimen por la misma necesidad y del olvido lo que ha pasado a la gente. Y dice que también la iglesia es culpable de todo esto porque la iglesia se ha infiltrado y se ha mantenido tratando de manipular las creencias también y no hace absolutamente nada para realmente arreglar el problema. Lo mismo pues que los gobiernos y por eso pues Vancouver se ha hecho realmente pues se puede decir como un gueto, ¿no? Y esto es el resultado de toda esta política corrupta y por eso es que se dan todo tipo de vejamen y todo tipo de crímenes, pedofilia, tráfico de niños, tráfico de trata de blancas y este tipo de cosas.
Maurice, ¿tú quieres preguntarle algo a Jon? ¿Tú quieres preguntarle algo si te gustaría o cómo lo ves? ¿Quieres tú hacer un question a Jon?
Bueno, yo no sé muy bien sobre el caso, no lo he estudiado en sí, pero quería preguntarles si es que ¿qué pasó con este señor? ¿Si lo encarcelaron? ¿Qué ha sucedido?
Vale, si quieres en inglés preguntárselo tú, venga, Maurice, adelante.
Okay, I personally, I don't was studying this case deeply, but I have a question. What happened with this guy? Is he still alive? He's dead, or he escaped to another country?
Robert Pickton?
Yeah.
Robert Pickton, as far as I know, is still serving time.
Yeah.
He's in prison. He was sentenced. I don't know all the numbers involved, but he was sentenced, and as I understand, he's still in jail. So he's behind bars. That is his present condition. Canada does not have a death penalty. Unlike the United States and other countries, we do not sentence people to death. So life in prison without chances of parole, these types of situations exist. People die in prison. Other accused serial killers in British Columbia have died in prison. So I think that is my understanding.
¿Qué ha podido un resumen?
Dice que hasta donde él sabe, Robert Pickton está todavía en cadena perpetua en Canadá, está en prisión, no va a salir nunca de allí y ellos no tienen la pena de muerte como lo tiene Estados Unidos y como otros países, ¿no? Entonces, pues, eso es lo que él sabe.
Bueno, es very important in the question for Robert Pickton. Actuality is in the cell and others. No, and this question is very, very important. Here is when our connection associates with the Club Vancouver, Robert Pickton, with the Robert Pickton case. Alfred Weber from the Exopolitics, his comment had it was used to fall to commit and teach mothers. What is your wife, John? Is the truth from Vancouver Club? Is the undercover in the implicates on these crimes?
Well,
yes.
In the context of again secrecy and corruption behind closed doors, the Vancouver Club could be compared to the more widely known Bohemian Club in San Francisco, whose Bohemian Grove parties involved all of the powerful figures in industry and politics throughout the United States and other parts of the world. Many major, apparently, political decisions are made at Bohemian Grove in Northern California. This has been covered in the alternative press significantly. And so a sister organization in Canada in Vancouver would be the Vancouver Club. And if the temperament is related to anything that's like what's going on at the Bohemian Grove, well, the Bohemian Grove, they perform mock sacrifice rituals at their summer events. This is widely known. So if the same psychology is present at the Vancouver Club, who's to say that they shouldn't be investigated for participation or suspicion of their participation in kinds of cover-ups and crimes? I haven't seen the books. This is not a transparent organization, so I would not be able to tell you further. But are they under suspicion? Yeah, I think that at this point, I think at this point it is reasonable to consider that the Vancouver Club has been named as a possible location for these types of events, and that further research should be conducted. But again, in a closed door society that is more committed to secrecy than ethics, I don't know what the likelihood of that is taking place unless an ethical judge issues a court order demanding such an investigation. I don't know if it will be possible to do it otherwise.
Maurice, hablando de Bohemian Grove, hablando de eso.
Se cree que el Club Vancouver se lo puede prácticamente comparar con el Bohemian Grove que está en el norte de California, ¿no?
Sí, efectivamente.
Porque ya se han atado cabos y se han reunido investigaciones paralelas. Obviamente no hay, como son organizaciones secretas y se saben camuflar muy bien, es complicado hacer una investigación de campo exacta. Entonces, a no ser que un juez de una corte realmente dicte una investigación perfecta ya con orden del gobierno. Este es el problema de estas organizaciones secretas y por algo son secretas, porque si no tuvieran nada que ocultar, entonces no fueran secretas. Entonces ya por esos puntos se sabe que eso está comparado con el Bohemian Grove, y todo el mundo sabe de los asesinatos y de los rituales satánicos y todas estas cosas malignas que hacen en el norte de California, donde se reúnen todas las figuras prominentes políticas y gubernamentales, no solamente de Estados Unidos, sino del mundo entero, ¿no?
Yeah, he's very good translator. John is very good translator from your question, and Maurice. Now,
I would like to add to this point concerning the Vancouver Club. I was there at the protests in front of the Vancouver Club when the Vancouver Club hosted Richard Cheney, the former Vice President of the United States. Richard Cheney was known in the United States as the Vice President for torture, And he was celebrated at the Vancouver Club after he left that administration. And I was there filming when the protesters were outside protesting his entry into Canada and demanding that the police arrest him as a war criminal. So the Vancouver Club, at a minimum, is celebrating war criminals and torturers. What other nonsense is going on there?
Maurice, exactamente, ha hablado de Dick Cheney, ha hablado de...
Sí, él estuvo incluso allí cuando hubo las protestas, cuando Dick Cheney fue al Club Vancouver y todo, y la gente gritaba y le decía que este tipo es un criminal de guerra y que ya saben que, o sea, la gente se está dando cuenta a nivel mundial y también porque no solamente había protestantes de allí de Canadá, sino de otras partes, y ya se están dando cuenta de que esta gente está metida en este tipo de cultos y de cosas negativas, ¿no?
John, I now remember for 4 cases from 4 survivors, girls from the MK Ultra victims, survivors, and now Cathy O'Brien, Catherine Sullivan, Bruce Taylor, and another person I don't remember from this name. These 4 persons all relate the experience is the famous name all operas is the George Bush Senior, F4 director from CIA, the intelligence agency. What is your opinion from the MK Ultra, from the survivors girls, the victims, from the control, the mind control, please?
Well, the parties that you've named are, if I could use the term loosely, are the celebrities, the most visible, in other words, the most visible claimants as to being victims of MK Ultra. But quite frankly, the majority of victims are not high-profile individuals, and we may never know their names, and yet they exist because the lawsuits are on file in the federal courts. So. Cathy O'Brien and Bryce Taylor are not Canadians. They were not involved in what was going on in Montreal. They were involved in activities in the United States. These programs continue, as my understanding, through my connections in the medical community, that there are institutions that are presented or that are ostensibly health services organizations that are actually being utilized for military intelligence, mind control, to work with their subjects, so to speak. In other words, that MK Ultra conditioning and programming is ongoing in the guise of medical services. There are psychiatric programs in the prison system in Wisconsin, for example, that are called monarch programming. And if anyone is familiar with MK Ultra and the testimony of people like Bryce Taylor or Cathy O'Brien, the idea of monarch programming is widely discussed in those circles, and yet that is the name of a psychiatric care program that's being used today in the Wisconsin prison system. So yes, this exists, but I am less a student of the most prominent claimants and more a student of the less glamorous history. Particularly, again, I can cite that the website for McGill University itself, where the Canadian MK Ultra conditioning program took place, there's articles posted to their own website. I mean, it's just unadulterated. People may have speculation about the veracity of Cathy O'Brien or Bryce Taylor's testimony, due to the glamour and lensing of their experiences, as well as, of course, the extreme circumstances they relate. But any one of us today can go to the McGill University website and look up MK Ultra, and it's right there. So that's McGill University representing that they are party to torture and torture research, and it happened in Canada. It's sort of, it's unambiguous. So, in other words, many glamorous claimants may emerge, and they may have many disgusting and repulsive stories to share, some of which may be true. I'm less interested in the cause of those high-profile individuals as I am in the people in the grassroots community, and particularly, quite frankly, I'm more concerned about the people who suffer in silence than I am about people who can assemble those resources and gain that much visibility. If they are successful in healing, their afflictions that were caused by participation in programs. I wish them all the success in the world. But I think the victims who suffer in silence are in more need of resource and remedy. And that, because I work as a clinician, I am much more concerned with reaching those people rather than working with celebrities.
Bueno, Maurice, ¿qué te ha parecido esto? ¿Tú qué crees? Sí.
Hay un pequeño detalle que él se dedica prácticamente a la investigación más de los casos de las víctimas de control mental o MK Ultra, pero se sabe obviamente que esto lo han hecho a la gente que salen a los cantantes de rock o a las estrellas de Hollywood. Eso ya es bien conocido, pero él realmente hace más la investigación de las personas que están sufriendo en silencio. Y se sabe pues que hay muchas ¿cómo se diría esto? Hay mucha gente, ¿cómo se llama? Comunidad científica que está trabajando en conjunto con estos tipos de programas de control mental y incluso en la prisión en Wisconsin, right?
Wisconsin penal system.
Sí, en la penitenciaría de Wisconsin estaban haciendo este tipo de control mental, ¿no? Obviamente eso está involucrado el gobierno, divisiones del gobierno que hacen este tipo de cosas y desarrollan este tipo de armas, se podría decir, para dañar a las personas, ¿no?
Now I listened from the President Bill Clinton. The case, the MENA connection is that the airports military is transporting drugs illegality from the Mexico, the frontier from Mexico, from the United States, Juarez, and others. And the killings from Juarez, and is there a relation from Bill Clinton? Bill Clinton, the report, wife on YouTube, the name is the Clinton Mothers. It's very famous report. Now, the question is, what's this report, John? What's your opinion from the old President Clinton and the wife Hillary and the victim from MK Ultra is the speak from the Hillary is they eat humans in the sacrifice, Satanism.
Well, such allegations may exist. The fact is that the Clintons were very active in Arkansas politics, and Mena, Arkansas, was cited repeatedly as a drop-off point in the CIA drug transport of cocaine into the United States over a multi-year period. And I believe Gary Webb is the journalist in Los Angeles who first wrote about this, the CIA drugs connection in the late 80s, early 90s. And this was the same time when the hearings around what was called the Iran-Contra affair became known and was a very prominent political issue under the Reagan administration. The Iran-Contra affair was all about selling arms to what we would call terrorists in Central America, and running drugs in Central America and selling arms to Iran. So they were conducting proxy warfare and illegal arms trade using drug money. And the fundamental principle is simply that instead of going to Congress to request money, organizations such as the CIA would normally have to request funding from Congress under the law. They bypassed their legal obligations and entered into the drug trade to raise funds to conduct illegal warfare. And this is still going on. This explains in very simple terms why Afghanistan today is growing more heroin, more poppies for opium and heroin production. They're growing more now than they were before the U.S. invaded Afghanistan. So under the American oversight, poppy production went up through the roof. What does this tell us? They're in the drug business. So Clinton, as the governor of Arkansas, has been implicated in being party to the rampant corruption and the roughshod smuggling of drugs and other whatever else they were transporting through Arkansas. as to accusations, that circulate and the rumors and so on, suspicions about the Clintons' personal conduct. Are they cannibals? Are they lizards? This kind of speculation exists. I don't have any personal information about that. If they've survived this long in politics, I would allege that their hands must be dirty to some extent to have survived this long and to get this far in the ranks of power, to both be administration level, if not presidents and certainly presidential candidates. That's a very long journey for any individual. They've been party to a lot of history, but I would also suspect a lot of the history is secret. We may one day know more truth about them. Clinton's absence of ethical conduct is notorious through the Lewinsky affair, which is not uncommon in political leadership circles. We know that former leader of Italy has been cited for his multiple affairs and illicit conduct outside of marriage. So moral corruption in leadership is a well-known issue. The Obamas, many people question whether they are a man and a woman. I mean, this is very common rhetoric. If you circulate online, people wonder if Michelle Obama is even born a woman. So, the questions about ethics, morality, tradition, and values surround politicians. As to how abysmal and degraded their conduct may be at certain times in history, I cannot say. I don't have any particular findings that support claims of cannibalism, but the fact that Mena, Arkansas, is in Arkansas, and that it's been established that drug smuggling CIA drug smuggling was active in the Mena airport while Clinton was the governor, and as well as the notorious trail of bodies that follows the Clintons. They are known. There are many people who have been associates with them, worked closely with them over the years, have died under less than simple circumstances. Many suspicious deaths surround them as well. There have been claims surrounding the Clinton. There's a lot of political hush money has been spent to silence witnesses, and there is an aura of unethical conduct and many accusations of criminal conduct surrounding both of them. This is symptomatic of our times. There's intense corruption in leadership. And this is what we're living with. Is that any surprise to anybody? I mean, is that news? I can't enlighten you further. But I acknowledge, these conditions exist, and anything that can be done to remedy them and lead society to a greater good will be to the benefit of all.
Maurice, ¿qué ha dicho? Porque ha sido muy interesante. Sí, adelante.
En la época que Clinton fue gobernador de Arkansas, se descubrió que la CIA estaba implicada en tráfico de droga. Realmente no se pudo agarrar bien a las personas porque siempre tú sabes que esta gente hay coimas y todo, tapan a los testigos.
Sí.
Y compran. Entonces, pero se sabe que obviamente este señor no tuvo una ética muy buena, porque sí hubo un escándalo con la señora esta de Lewinsky, que ya todo el mundo conoce el caso de Lewinsky. Sí. Pues obviamente se lo compara con el caso de este señor Berlusconi de Italia, que también tuvo relaciones extramaritales con muchas personas y con prostitutas, y obviamente se le descubrió corrupción, y ahora ha sido imputado incluso, ¿no? Entonces hoy en día se puede comparar estas cosas, y se sabe que la política está totalmente podrida, ¿no? Entonces, pues se sabe también que cuando estuvieron y están ahora mira, antes de que invada Estados Unidos a Afganistán, se sabe que había plantaciones de amapola y que se extrae pues para producir la heroína, y casualidades, que las casualidades no existen, ahora que está otra vez está oficialmente Estados Unidos allí en Afganistán, pues la producción se ha cuadruplicado de heroína. Entonces obviamente se hace el estudio y se atan cabos y se sabe que eso está implicado, ¿no? Y quien diga pues que no, pues entonces realmente pues con todas las noticias y con lo que se ve y con los análisis estamos dando cuenta que la política está totalmente corrupta.
Claro, now the last question from this interview, John, is very interesting from your part, from the question, no, the comment of the cases, no. Now in the case all famous in the United States from America is the Franklin cover-up. And the book is very famous from the politician John Will the Camp, or I don't remember the name. You watch the case on the television, on the mass medias and others. Is that this case in the report for the newspapers in the Reagan and Bush is the big house rings, pedophile rings, or high politicals, high rankings. How standing your opinion, please, the Franklin cover up and the Nebraska, the Larry Queen, another.
Well, one prominent individual who was cited as being involved in the Franklin cover up is an individual named Michael Aquino, who is also notorious as the individual who established satanic practices in the U.S. military as a recognized form of religion. So the career of Michael Aquino has seen him alleged to be in circles and accused by witnesses of being involved in pedophilic crimes that took place at the Presidio in San Francisco, as well as being involved in the circles around the Franklin cover-up and the Boys Town cover-up. This is a very disgusting and high-profile case. The man who wrote about that case, I believe, was a U.S. senator. He was a prominent civic leader or involved in federal government. A very responsible individual who was taking a look at this case. There was intense money laundering and other forms of corruption surrounding the Franklin scandal. It was a savings and loan, I believe. This Franklin is what we're referring to was a savings and loan institution, and so money laundering and pedophilia, blackmail, and corruption were all going hand in hand. And people, my following of the documentaries that were produced in the late 1980s and early 1990s around this case, my multiple viewing of those documentaries shows that there was intense hesitation on the part of the local community and law enforcement to do anything about or to prosecute or to seek prosecution because people in political and social leadership positions were all implicated in these crimes. So that we can understand there was intense blackmailing. You asked about George Bush Sr., and during the time of his presidency, there was an article, I believe, in the Washington Post in which it was cited that male prostitutes were being trafficked through the White House in the middle of the night during his presidency. The article appeared in, I believe, the Washington Post newspaper. So homosexual prostitution, prostitution of underage boys, all of these accusations surround that. There's a disgusting legacy. When we look at Penn State in recent years, at Pennsylvania State University, the head coach of the football team is incarcerated, and others were dismissed over charges of long-standing corruption of college students, sexual assault, rape, and other charges as a long-standing condition of those students attending those schools. So we are only, in other words, at this time in history, we're only at the precipice of discovery and understanding. Before the wound, the injury, or the disease can be healed, the poisons have to come to the surface. And so we are just getting signs and intimations that these poisons even exist. And when the collective body of society overthrows or throws out, expels these toxins, then our body will be healthier, but it will be a revolting and disgusting process to observe all this poison come to the surface. And yet if we don't do it, if we continue to bury and hide under a veil of secrecy, the disease is sure to fester and manifest in other ways. And so my suggestion is that the terrible tasting medicine that's good for us is to come clean on these issues as a society and restore our establishment in values, ethics, morality as foundation stones of family, community, and larger society at large, and that will be a sure remedy that will set us on a better path, and we cannot undo. The mistakes of the past are behind us. We are disappointed in our own. In what we've created in some ways, but there is still hope for us, and as long as we are alive, as long as we can still talk about issues, there's a chance for remedies to manifest. And it's my hope that we will see progress progress in resolving some of these problems that afflict society today.
Bueno, Maurice ha puesto una cara sorprendido, ha puesto los ojos así como sorprendido. ¿Por qué? ¿Pero qué ha pasado? Es que me ha sorprendido. Te he visto ahí cuando he dicho algo de la homosexualidad de George Bush, algo de la prostitución, y creo que has puesto una reacción muy, muy impresionante. No sé, creo que algo de ahí te ha llamado la atención. ¿Pero por qué? ¿Por qué?
Lo que pasa es que hay cosas que me estoy enterando, es que sí sabía de corrupción y este tipo de cosas, pero no sabía más profundamente. My friend told me why I put this strange face, because I knew it that was corruption in politics, but a lot of information that you was given is new for me, and that's why I said, oh my God, that's why we have this kind of world, because it's completely sick. The people who are in power are totally corrupt and sick people. That's why
it is very disappointing.
Now, John, my first interview and you from the Spanish radio podcast is very interesting. Now your channel on YouTube is very, very, very good, and I watch the programs on your channel. I'm a use a translator from Google, and now it's very important in your interview, and now in the channel from Serie Jon is the program all the listeners is from Spain, from United States, all Hispanic, Latin from United States and all the sides. Now it's the first interview in English, and Maurice is in the hell from translates, and this is very important. No, in the last and in the conclusion from this program, in the interview with Jon Kelly from the channel from Secret Message is very, very, very important from this channel. Now, and you, Maurice, you and the conclusion from this program is very, very good. It's very good information. What is your opinion, please? And this program is your surprise, and in your face is very amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, because I was living in the States a long time ago. You know my story. I'm not a linguist, but I try to help in what I can, because I follow a lot of investigators like Alfred Weber and many others, and the problem is a bunch of people that speak Spanish, they don't speak another language, or they don't speak English. And some people told me, for example, I'm German, you know, sometimes I want to speak German, it's a little strange, but these people told me, hey, you post a lot of good information, but we can't understand. Why you don't try to translate some material? But like I said, I'm not a perfect linguist, and you must to really study this. I understand perfectly, but the problem is to put all that thing together and say so quickly that the person can understand, you know, and it's a little hard, but I try to resume and to say to the people what's really going on in this earth, you know, because corruption is not only in the States, it's not only in Canada. That I was living in many countries around the world, and every country had dirt and secrets, and that's sad. And we must to inform the people. That is our duty, because I have daughters. Even you don't have a child, but these people in power, they steal our money. They do only slavery and problems and wars and things, and this is our duty to change this planet, because if you really analyze the whole human story, the human being story is only war and sad and bad things, and that's why I helped today my friend in this interview.
Bueno, ha sido muy interesante, very interesting from a part from Maurice Weber. John, in the last question, it was in your information contact from all listening for contact from you on the question from this interview and the case from Robert Pickton. Please, your information contact from.
I can be found online at yourinnervoice.com, and my YouTube channel is linked there under the name Jon Kelly, JonKelly. You can find me on YouTube. I'm visible on Facebook. I run a variety of different informative and educational programs. I write the Vancouver UFO Examiner, where many of my forensic studies also appear, including Russian spies, Robert Pickton, and other Maidan conspiracy, other contemporary forensic studies that I've conducted of great value and unique perspectives. So I'm very glad that I was able to outreach to the Spanish-speaking community today. In my life experience, Spanish and Latin communities have been very important supporters of my life, particularly around the arts. And so it is my great hope that I will continue to cultivate friendship and collegial relationships with Spanish-speaking community, so we can further learn more together and grow and develop as a global community.
Bueno, Maurice ha dicho algo muy bonito, creo que de la gente española, porque
él dice que sí, él lo ve muy interesante y muy importante también poder que esto se sepa también para la comunidad hispana, porque son unos grandes son muchos millones y ellos se deben de enterar también de qué está sucediendo. Se lo puede encontrar como Jon Kelly en Facebook, y él tiene un canal también de YouTube como Jon Kelly también, ¿no?
Ajá. Bueno, entonces, Maurice, esto lo hemos hecho en castellano, en Spanish, en inglés, pero también hay que decir a los oyentes que tienen que intentar que entiendan el programa, sí que les va a costar, and the difficult from all Spanish people understanding, ¿no? Pero es importante, Maurice, que hoy hemos hecho nuestra, ¿cómo se dice? Nuestra primera entrevista ahí a Jon en inglés. Fíjate que hoy ha sido importante para el canal y para los oyentes, pero bueno, ha sido un very, very high, amazing from this interview, Jon. I am little more English now, now in this day I improved my English, all listeners, all people from all sides of the world, and now thank you very much, Jon, from this program interview. Thank you.
Thank you both, Juan and Maurice. Great to speak with both of you. I appreciate it very much.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you to you that you have the courage to say this kind of stuff to the whole planet, because, like I said before, this is very important, and we must to change this reality, like Alfred and many others say.
Yes. I am ratings from Hans Olias, from help from translate from document. Hans Olias from the project Slice Out, and this interview is in the hands But now I'm substituted from Maurice from and to Hans, and that Hans progress from the connection, but it's live in Mexico. The connection for internet is very, very low. It's not good. It's 1 gigabyte from internet. 1 gigabyte, not Maurice. 1 gigabyte. The velocity from internet speed up. Is in community Europe is. And 20 gigabytes, 13, maybe 14 in the fiber optic, and all the cable is all high technology. Is Maurice in Germany is all the cable is in the internet high velocity. Now is from.
Yeah, I don't have problem in Germany. Germany is good with the technology. The problem is for example, our friend Jon. Hans in Mexico, and Mexico sadly doesn't have a good connection from internet, so he couldn't be today over here in the program.
And now thank you very much, Jon Kelly. I am very, very surprised from this program. I am very fan from your program, Maurice, and the help now in the hands from. And in the help from document and the translate. My English very difficult, and now it's good. It's very, very good. And now, Jon Kelly, thank you very much for participating all the program, and greetings from all people from Canada, And greetings from Alfred Weber. It's very good working in the YouTube channel investigation from on the tribunal from the version of the Catholic Church and the Canada crimes and the state Canada and others. Thank you very much, John, for attention for this call from the Spain and the participant from Maurice from all the Germany and all the listeners.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, and bueno. Listeners, thank you very much for participating on this program. Muchas gracias por haber estado aquí en este programa. Es mi primera vez. Maurice también ha participado por primera vez aquí. Hemos hecho lo mejor posible. Espero que les haya gustado la entrevista y nos vemos.